All right, how you doing out there? Here we are once again with Don't Talk Politics, and today our topic is Black Republicans, the new slaves. We're going to talk about the perspectives of people who consider themselves tied to this party and basically to supporting of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is essentially hijacked, I guess you could say, all of the Republican Party, and they do his bidding regardless of their class or constituency. They continue to do as he says. It's sort of like King Donald the First in terms of a politic. And so we're just here to hear that perspective of who are these new Black Republicans. I'm your host, Tahuti Kambui. I'm joined by
Derek.
Brother Derek is visiting us on this side, and Brother
Sundiata
is visiting us on that side. And we're going to just have a good roundtable discussion from different perspectives. And you are welcome to join in as well once we open up the phone line. We have one clip just to start off, I think, to just start us off with what this mindset is actually adhering to by following these principles. So we're just going to look at the clip whenever is ready. Let me know so that we can just hear what's done at these rallies.
But your security and your jobs are in very grave peril because the radical left maniacs, they don't want to have anything to do with energy. They don't want anything to do with, they have different concepts, right? They have the Green New Deal where there will be no energy almost of any kind. No, it's crazy. Thought of by AOC plus 3, you know AOC? And she's got them, you know, she's radical left, but she's not as bad as some of them. How about Omar of Minnesota? We're going to win the state of Minnesota because of her, they say. She's telling us how to run our country. How did you do where you came from? How is your country doing? They're going to tell, she's going to tell us, she's telling us how to run our country.
It's like a defining in terms of who is and who is not of this country. He's saying like she is not of this country. How can she be not? And she's elected in the country. So, I mean, who wants to take the first go at that?
Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, it's consistent with obviously the playbook in terms of winning votes from his base is to demonize other people. So it's just clear what he's doing. It's not even a trick. It's not even being hidden. So.
Okay, what do you think about that, Brother Derek?
What's that clip?
Yeah.
Well, I think about that clip on the level that is it facts? Where's the facts at? Where's the facts at in what he's saying? Not in the emotions, not in the demonization of all that first. It's what is the facts about what he's saying. The topic today, when I first saw it, I thought maybe it was like a question that we were going to discuss. But then when I got here and I read it and I saw, no, it's like an actual statement. Blacks, new slaves. And when I saw that, the first thing that came to my mind was on a biblical level, okay, that we all slaves. That's why God said you can't serve two masters. So we all slaves down here. So to me, it's like, okay, let's start with that, because if they, the new slaves, then who was the old slaves? I posed that question. And how did the old slaves get free to be able to call them the new slaves?
Good question. I guess it goes down to what we define as freedom. in some of those old slaves, when we're talking about actual slavery or actual bondage in terms of physical bondage. And then we're also talking about slavery that we're referring to in this, I believe, which is the mental bondage. And so when you're talking about an old slave versus a new slave, it's really like, are you transferring one mental shackle for another mental shackle? So it's a movement of thinking that you're moving in an independent direction and actually re-enslaving, I should say, yourself. So it's a new slavery in the terms that in these contemporary times, you're not going to see it the same as you saw, picking cotton on a plantation or, an overseer cracking a physical whip. But the whip is still being applied. It's a mental whip. It's a political whip. It's an economic whip. It's an education whip. It's a healthcare whip.
Okay.
So that's what we mean when we say the new slave.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
And then we're thinking about, we have to think about how the black male was brought here, stripped of manhood, and the journey to get manhood back. And then you look at it with a person like Donald Trump, who was worshipped already by black males in the sport and the rap industries, when they were always taking pictures with him and edifying him simply because of the wealth. Was that a mental type of voyeurism where they saw, we want to be like this white male image that's similar to being on the plantation, where they saw master and they wore the old clothes of the master, and the more they spoke like the master, the higher esteem they had. So we're looking at the black Republican and really asking the question of whose interest are you serving, when it's clear, it's very clear that the interest of the Republican Party has been to push white dominance over other people and to make it clear that this is their country. That's why he says, make America great again. So that's so we're looking at it, this black Republican, and saying, where in your philosophy do you have black upliftment for the entire group? Where in being Republican is the end game that we become masters of our own environment? So that's why we're speaking.
I got you. Okay. But in order to do that, first we got to recognize that the mind game that you guys spoke of when we came off the boat, the way it happened, that was done by Democrats. Let's keep it 100. That was done by Democrats. Let me finish. You let me finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, because that was in the South.
Mm-hmm.
That was done by Democrats. Okay.
Okay.
The Civil War was fought in order to free us. So when the Republicans actually did that, and they was beginning to get that done, and the general went to Lincoln and said, since we freed them, we need to give them their own farms, so they got to be sharecroppers, they can have their own stuff. He went to him, and they went to Congress, and all the Democrats voted no on the issue, and Republicans voted yes. Okay? That's why when they assassinated him, it was the Democrat, his vice president, who gave the land back to them in order to continuate the mind game that y'all speaking of. Okay? And that's what the mind game is. The mind game started from that. So now we want to get into what is the Republican Party about today. I always want to look at what is any party about today as far as uplifting the black man in the middle class now, and having us to be able to buy houses and jobs and give our kids schools, make our kids better. That's where I'm at. So let's talk about what party is actually doing that, because the Democrats have constantly taken our vote for granted. They have constantly promised stuff every 4 years. Mm-hmm. They step into the arena and says a bunch of things. Planned Parenthood, we done killed 40 million of our babies. Our vote is very weak right now, okay? And the only free spirit thinking part, what you guys just, to me is mentioning is, smaller government is what the Democrats do not want. They want bigger government, okay? So what Donald Trump is saying about making America great again, he's talking about before he got there, we had all our factories, China was making everything. There was no jobs here, no good qualified jobs. His factory was gone. Everything you make was coming from someplace else. So he said making America great again. What he's saying is, as a whole, making our own stuff. When this virus hit, we saw that we had no control over our own pharmaceuticals. None. Right now, China just said the other day, they might not send the mask over to us because of whatever. They got the right to do that because they control our stuff. He said make America great again because we used to make our own stuff. We used to send aid out to everybody else. How is Russia and China going to give us something? That's what to make America great again. That's what he's speaking of. Okay? That's just what I'm saying. So that's some facts. Let's look at the facts. Look how many factories came back here. Look how many things was being open. Steel mills, the activators are back on now and they happening. There's things that's going on.
But then how did the unemployment rate rise if that was the fact? And then in some of the economics and some of the, it's a lot of factual things that you were stating that's not factual. I mean, but I'm not going to go into all of that.
Well, let's hit them. We got to.
Well, I could hit it. I can hit it.
Okay, let's rewind what you said.
Okay, let's go back.
Go
ahead.
And also what Tootie always says, pronouns are very important. You say our government, our economy. It's not our government.
Well, we're going to break down language
economy.
interpretation. I mean,
it's just our perspective. Our perspective is that when you say he brought it back for us and this is us and this is ours.
How are you included?
Yeah, you're not included. But let's go back to what you said originally.
Go ahead.
About Democrat and Republicans. Democrats came out of the Whig Party. Republicans, the Republicans came out of the Whig Party in the North. Very wealthy whites in the North who were making their money contrary to how the South, with its agricultural base, was making its money. And they said, this new industrial age that we're going into, it doesn't have to be slave-based. Matter of fact, white non-landowners felt threatened by free labor. So that created the friction that capitalism had in terms of moving forward.
It wasn't a moral issue.
It wasn't a moral issue at all. So plus also no one freed us. Actually, the North was losing the war. Harriet Tubman went to Lincoln and said, if you want to win this war, you have to unleash this black machine that you got up here. And he said, let me win one battle so that history will not show it took black people to come save the North. And so when that was done, they had to enlist the commitment of the black soldier in the North. They had to the black soldier rightfully asked, what's in it for us outside of just freedom? Because we might kill the North and come back and keep killing and kill the South and come back and keep killing North. They said, what we'll do is we'll include you. We'll give you 40 acres and a mule. And it was done just to win the commitment. After the war was done, they reneged on that. And
Who
then
was they?
The North did. The North reneged.
No, they didn't.
Listen.
The vice president was a Democrat. He didn't want to return.
The North did
Andrew
because
Jackson,
the South under Reconstruction. The South under
Party
Reconstruction was under the control of black mayors and governors. So and it was the North who was over the South because they could have tried them for treason and hung them, but they didn't. So therefore, what happened was that after a certain time, 1870s, the United States government, the North said to the South, there was a tie between Rutherford B. Hayes and Tillman. It was a tie. And they said to break this tie, the South said, give us back the South. Remove these black soldiers in the South that are protecting black voters.
I got that.
And then the North and the South, once again, as they always do, came back together and they took those black soldiers out of the South, sent them out west, and they became the Buffalo Soldiers. And by doing that, they left the black citizens in the South free to be terrorized.
Right.
And that was done by the party of the Democrats.
We're not talking.
I understand, but we got to get to the. We can get it deep into the account.
What I'm trying to do is free the mindset of saying
it's a party.
It's a party.
Difference.
It is one system.
It's one party.
It's one party. It's a white party, and they said that's why they came together. They came together and said, you know what? We're not going to tear ourselves up over black rulership. Matter of fact, what we'll do is we will renege on the promise to the blacks, the North did, and we will come back together, the North and the South, and disenfranchise those blacks in the South.
Right. But let's move past that. Let's move past
that. Well, that's
that.
important because
it's
the
important,
basis.
but
how you start is how you end.
But let's move past the the labeling of the parties and all of that.
Yeah.
And let's deal with the policies. Let's deal with moving forward because the contemporary parties now have a monopoly on power. And see, that's the issue. You're talking about gaining access to power. You're talking about us included in the power dynamic. And the strategy for us to be included in the power dynamic can't be to sow or hitch our wagon to this current engine that is so anti-us that we gonna think that because a few people are rewarded for showing pseudo loyalty and give up the masses of our people, for a few crumbs on the table. That philosophy is a proven failure for our people. And so I'm trying to figure out where are we going.
Yeah, well, I got what you said. I understand.
Okay.
But that philosophy has been in effect way before this man got in office, which is why we're in the position we're in right now. Okay?
I agree.
The reason why we're in the position that we're in right now, because that is the fact we've hitched our wagons to a bunch of people that led us no place, promised us a lot of stuff, and didn't deliver, okay? And all I know is that I never voted in my life. I'm 60 years old. I never voted in my life till Barack came, okay? And the reason why I voted at that time, because I was hoping that somebody would get in there we could hitch our wagon to that was going to do the implements that we needed as blacks.
Right.
Put us in a position to do some stuff.
Right.
Okay, make some things, go get some stuff. I don't care what he had to do, I was with him. Be a renegade like this man we talking about right now is. Call them out when they're not doing it. That's what I expect for him to go do, And I voted twice for him, but when I felt, to me, it's like, okay, that didn't happen. Okay, so now here we are now, okay, and the two choices we had to pick from, whether you black, conservative, or Democratic black, the bottom line is, I'm looking at today, I don't want to be a victim no more. I don't want to speak from the victim side. I don't want to agree to all that victim stuff. I don't want to look at none of that. I want to look at right now, what are you going to do? Who's doing what? The black colleges right now they need help. Who's helping them? Whoever's doing that for the black middle class, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm going to leave it at that. That's where I'm at.
Well,
okay. It's like I want to have my own wagon. I don't want to hitch my wagon no more.
I hear you.
right.
So how do we accomplish that?
Right.
Get our own banks. How do we accomplish that?
If you remember,
I don't want to keep in the blame game.
If you remember, you have to identify the opposition. It's like in a football game. You have to identify the linebacker. You have to identify the cornerback. Because if you don't identify that, then you can't run a play. If you remember, let me show you the play that the United States ran. Before Obama ran, the black population was fed up with America. They had just stolen 2 elections. Gore just bowed. And this is another thing you have to look at, how Gore actually won, but he bowed down and said, I'll let you take the presidency because it's not about tearing up the United States. We are both on the same page. So when the black population was so beaten down after Katrina, we saw how they treated us in Katrina. We were upset like we are right now. We had bowed out and said, oh, forget America. We're upset with it. We're going to look for a new option. America dusted off an old playbook, and that is put up one of your kind, and you'll start cheering it. And I say they dusted it off because they learned this through situations such as Jackie Robinson. You had the Negro League, which was challenging the money of the Major League Baseball. So Major League Baseball said, let's bring one over and we can destroy a whole industry. And they did, because we all start cheering for one person. And that's what we're saying, that it's not about one person, it's about the group. And what we also have to realize is it's not about a Democrat or Republican. We are in a system that is going to ice us out repeatedly because they ping pong us back and forth in terms of our interests. The third option is an option that we're never taught in school. We're never socialized in school because they keep it from us. And that is a Marcus Garvey, a global vision where you hook your wagon up to your own people. And I have to give Tyler Perry credit, even though I like his movies. I have to give him credit. Simply on black people's dollars, he made $1 billion industry because he did not try to hook up with Paramount and other companies in the United States. He did his own thing. We have to go back for do for self that we had in over 100 years ago. Do for self and rally around each other.
Before you respond back, let me remind the callers you have the opportunity to call in at area code 424-234-8670. Again, that's 424-234-8670. And if you have not clicked subscribe, you can click subscribe on WeAreLa. Okay, brother.
Okay. for me, first of all, you said you got to know your enemy in the playbook, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, the enemy in the playbook is Satan. Let's get real. This is a spiritual thing. God made that clear. There's a spiritual battle. We humans are pawns on the table. So right now, I know that it's a spiritual war between him and his son. It's a spiritual between him and Satan, okay? And his time is short, so I understand that. So all the different things that's happening down here is because we are pawns on the table. There's bad in each race. There's bad in each situation. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. So I know the playbook. But in that playbook that I know of, getting on the human level of that playbook, what I have to say is that we got to get one person in to make something happen to bring the rest. The problem what I'm having right now, when I got in the movie businesses 42 years ago, when the NAACP attacked the studios because there was no blacks working behind them sets, and a black man who was retiring got me a job, okay? And when I got there, there was a bunch of us, all us brothers off the streets and got us all jobs. But we had no fathers from welfare. We had no fathers in our homes to teach us how to buy houses. We got on drugs. We squandered the money. We did not handle that type of money.
Right.
Okay? So, but what we major thing we did wrong was, out of all those brothers who was there, they all gone now, but nobody brought up nobody behind them. I brought in 13 people when I got there.
Good.
My father a job. I brought folks in behind. The problem I'm having with us as blacks is we're not bringing ourselves up together. Okay, and we want to sit. I don't just want to agree. We're gonna sit and blame on somebody else, race somebody else, white man, all that stuff. When we would have opportunities, some of us had opportunities, and we didn't bring each other up. Okay, we didn't try to hit somebody else's wagon. We wanted to be the only wagon on the block.
Right.
The same thing we did on the plantation. We got that same mentality.
Exactly.
And I don't refuse to want to just blame the white man for that same mentality. Like, what point do we begin to understand that we got to break it because all the other races are doing it?
Well, you break the chain by breaking the habit.
Yeah,
and that's
there
what
we
I'm
go.
saying. So when we break that habit, we have to do so not by going along with what exists, because that's going to reinforce that habit. So if you have to do that, you're going to have to be strong enough to stand independent, which is what I'm hearing. And so if we're going to stand independent, we cannot constantly be looking to appease a standard that has nothing to do with us. It doesn't come up out of us.
But we got to use
You
it. It's in control. We got to use it.
No, but see, you concede that. And see, that's what I'm saying. You just talked about spirituality. If you read that Bible that you're talking about, it is replete with examples of overcoming insurmountable odds. In every case, when it was time for Pharaoh to leave, it was insurmountable odds. When it's time for David to defeat, it was insurmountable odds. So that's what I'm saying. So at some point, if you say it, you got to walk it. You know what I'm saying? We have to believe it, and we have to be strong enough, like you said, to be independent, like you said, bringing those brothers in like you did.
And but I had to use that Hollywood system.
That.
I had to get in that Hollywood system. I had to prove myself in the Hollywood system. And I had to be able to let them people know that when you're hiring somebody, I got somebody good too. Y'all mind? It's a dear really, and I bring some brothers in. But I had to go into that system, and I had to work within that system because I didn't have the power to make movies.
But at the same time that you're working within that system, it should have been a parallel study of how do I duplicate and make this system independent where we can do it ourselves.
And I did.
And also, you just said a key word.
And I did.
And also, you said a key word. You said, I didn't have the power to do that.
When I first got in.
But
I gained the
listen,
power
well, listen to me.
from my work ethic.
Listen what I said, though. Listen. So you said I didn't have the power to do that. That is exactly, you didn't have the power because comparatively to something else, they had the power. So that's not blaming, that is defining your current situation that you changed through your own effort. And I applaud you for that. So that's what I'm saying in terms of when we're looking at the Republican and Democrats, we must, through our own effort, create a third way. That's part of us being men. We may not have it all with us right now, but we lay the seeds for in the future that we will have it. And we did that at different times. If you look at our history, that's why we had independent towns that were totally independent.
You know why we had independent towns?
You can share your view. Yeah.
Because we did all the work. They didn't know how to do nothing.
So
they had to come to us. We were the blacksmith. We had all the skill sets.
That's right.
We had all the skill sets.
So just like you had a plan when it came to industry, right?
Not when I first got in.
No, but you developed one as you saw what was going on. You read the landscape and you said, okay, I got a plan. Just like you said, we squandered it because we didn't have people behind us to prepare us to deal with a complex situation, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
So therefore, when we look at this political battle that we have, we don't have the muscle behind us. It's up to us to create that, looking at the landscape that's in front of us. Okay. So I got a Democrat on the right, and I got a Republican on the left, and I'm saying I've got to maneuver this situation so it benefits us for our grandchildren. So we must lay the seeds, just as China did when China was seen as having a yellow man's chance. That meant Chinese did not have a chance in the world, but they laid seeds. They said we're gonna learn this and push it forward. What we're not doing, we're not seeing ourselves as independent. Different than what you did. Right. What we're doing is just what you said we should do. Right. That is that, he going to take care of us and we're going to sponsor this money and we ain't got to worry about building nothing on our own. Right. Am I right or wrong? Right. Am I right or wrong?
Right, but let me say this real quick. It's a good point. Uh-huh. But when I got in there and saw the landscape of the situation, I saw the landscape. The Italians and the white men that did not have a thing about me, the ones who helped me to come up. They're the ones that helped me to put me in position to let me do extra jobs, come do extra work. With certain ones wouldn't show me nothing on the apprenticeship, there were certain ones that took me by the hand, they did show me. Right. Okay. And so therefore, me being around that understanding, okay, I came to the point to where I don't have time to blame the white man. I'm gonna do what white man's helping me, I'm cool with you. The ones that's not, then that's what that is.
That's what it is.
That's what that is, okay? So as I continue to gravitate myself going up into that industry, and then I got power to be able to bring other blacks in. My brother, some of the folks in, you know what I'm saying? Those white guys understood that based on what they taught me, how I ran my situation, that a little more people got in. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
let me say this.
I had to get gratitude. I get gratefulness to God for going through some of them rules to look past some of the stuff they was calling me nigger and stuff and shit they was telling me.
Yeah, you had to.
That, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there were certain white people that like, come on, Derek, come on, let me show you how to do this.
Because you had a plan.
A long term and a greater good.
Let me say, go ahead.
But here's the thing. Among us, and you know, I like when you was discussing earlier because you was pointing out, you know, some of these points. You said, you know, we wanted to be individuals. We wanted to, you know, be that one. You know what I'm saying? And see, that is taught. That's what I'm saying. The system teaches us, our people, to function as the superstar, as the individual, not as the team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you know, teams win championships. Yeah. So this is what we're talking about. Everything we have to do is change this mindset, because in one breath they teach us coming up, our children, our kids, to be an individual is more important. Yeah. But then in way that they function in terms of power dynamics, it is always collective. And that's why we say we need to do this collective thing and connect globally, where we are the majority. Yeah. See, in the way that they have it set up, we're gonna always be viewed as the power is in their hands. That's just the setup, like you said, the rule.
It is. It is.
And what you mentioned also was, you said we came from single. You went right back to the history. This is how we came. We had single fathers. We were in shaky situations. Now, that's not blaming anybody.
That's just facts.
So that's what we're talking about. So now we got to look back a little bit and say we weren't always from single fathers, though. We came to the cities and certain things happened to war on our black men. That's just facts. Yeah. We know that now. Because now we know the CIA dropped all them drugs, even though we shouldn't have took them and sold them. But we know that, guess what? If I'm hungry, or if I got a crew with me and I don't know no better because I'm 18, 19, and I don't see the long range gold, let's put it this way. You know why we can't do it. Let me say this way. Let me say this. We can't do it to their community. If we put it in their community, we said, hey, man, your kids decide to use it. They say, no. That's not good enough. You aren't going to bring, like right now, they protect their interests.
Opioids.
They protect opioids. They handle it totally different because they said, no. We gonna handle our environment the way we want to. Now, so basically what we're saying is we basically saying the same thing. And you using the industry, like you said, we have to learn to bide our time. We have to learn. Look, you didn't go in there and say, I'm gonna run this industry today. You said, no, I'm gonna let them, I'm gonna read out who's friendly, who's the hostile, and I'm gonna take advantage of the friendly, and then I'm gonna open up the back door for other people to come in.
Even if the friendly is a Republican, even if the friendly is a Democrat, even if the friendly is the independent. Now, it doesn't matter to me because I noticed that God and Satan both works through each one of them parties, and each one of them got good and bad.
But guess what?
But what I want to say is about the industry is once I got to a place to where I was running shows and I had a full crew, and I would go to brothers like Jamie Foxx. I would go to certain brothers that I would have conversation with. I sat down with Bernie Mac. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I said, just like Ice Cube. You did all them movies, but behind that wall was all another race.
Exactly.
Wasn't no brothers building none of them sets.
I got you.
Wasn't them brothers done build none of them sets.
Yeah.
Okay? And so my thing now is that, and them brothers is Democrats. Okay? And they wasn't helping nobody.
Yep.
They was that because they wasn't perpetuating to do nothing.
Actually, Ice Cube's
Well, he coming around.
No, he got a Republican helping him with the 3-on-3 league. So that's another thing.
Yeah,
but the whole thing is this, though.
He has because he had evolved. That's true.
No, but the whole thing is this, though. But like you said, you're using them. You don't let them use you. Let me just put this. Let me get you to this. So how did we move from being Republicans early on in our history, and then we switched over, and now we're seen as Democrats? We didn't leave the party. The party actually booted black people out, because when we talk about listen.
Go ahead.
So you look at 1960s with that push that happened with the civil rights movement, when you had John F. Kennedy being perceived by black people because he helped Martin Luther King when he was in the South. So then when he was killed, you have Lyndon Johnson, who came up and passed legislation in '64.
They handcuffed us.
So regardless of what it did, this is what it did to whites. It put anger in them because at the time, Democrats were in the South. We had Democrat Dixies. They had as a matter of fact, they call it the solid Democrats in the South. So what happened was 1964, Barry Goldwater coming out of Arizona.
I got all that.
Not you. Just let me finish, and then so that people can hear. So people follow us, since you got it. So Barry Goldwater coming out of Arizona said, basically what Trump said. They used what they call the Southern strategy, and that is like we need to be racist without appearing to be racist. And we have this, I think we have the clip of, okay, so the point is this. We have Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater, who was the...
As a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out... now y'all don't quote me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Any way you look at it, race is coming up. In other words, that's Lee Atwater. That's a Southern strategy. Okay. And I'm familiar with him because at Howard University, he tried to sit on our board of trustees. And then what they said is we wanted 10% of the black population. They said we wanted just 10%. We want and then they had church on their target and they had black institutions. That's why our president at Howard University was a Republican. Because they said if we just get a little bit, just a fraction of the black vote, we can control the White House, even though our policies are going to hurt the majority of black people. Now, why your story is very interesting is because you had a strategy to help more people. And then when you went to people, regardless if they're Democrat or not, because you can't win with the Democrats either, but when you went to the Eddie Murphys and all of them, you noticed y'all ain't got a strategy. You here, but you by yourself. So we need a strategy. If you got to put on the Republican hat the Democratic hat? Where is your strategy? And after all these years of being in America, what we're starting to realize is we have no strategy, regardless of what you call it. But we did have a strategy, and that's another thing we haven't touched on, and we never touch on it. We had at very beginning, we had a Marcus Garvey movement that created stores and banks and an international concept of business that we would have been challenging Firestone when it came to rubber. That's what they do not teach us in school, is that if we hooked up with a bigger group of people
with our natural
resources that we have in the world, it would actually make us wealthy. As a matter of fact, the United States was very worried and concerned anytime we had efforts to link up with a much more dominant group outside of it. That's why they keep calling us minority. And that's why Garvey said we're 400 million strong. So it's
now well over a billion.
Now well over a billion strong. Now we're over a billion. So what we're saying is that when we look at this, we notice that we've been ping pong back and forth between one party and another. We haven't been able to play this game to where it helps us. So we need to come up with a new strategy. Okay. And that new strategy is for, like, just like you said, is to have a game plan.
Okay.
No matter who it is.
Right, no matter who it is.
That's
okay.
it.
So reason why I spoke on myself as being a middle class is because I know right now that the main strategy is to unshackle ourselves from the welfare and Lyndon Johnson and what he did to us. That's, to me, is the number one thing. Okay. Because as long as we consider the government to give us what we need to have, okay, we not, there ain't no game plan. They're going to give us our game plan. The game plan right now for the middle class, for my concern, is I don't care about all that stuff that Donald Trump is saying out of his mouth or however he acts, because I know one thing, you got to send a snake to get snakes. All I know is that right now, Hispanics overjumped us. Everywhere you go, they got all the jobs. And when they get the jobs, they only hire themselves. Everyone I know, they hire themselves. Okay? While we sitting around here shucking and jiving, they buying houses, they giving their house to each other. They doing the same thing the Jews did, the Chinese did, everything else did. So to me, instead of trying to, for me, single out whether Republicans is the new slave, no. I would rather go to what is our, like you say, what is our strategy right now as a group?
Right.
I don't got time for the name blaming, the labeling, and all that. Let's talk about going back to we had our own stock market. How did we get that? Let's go back and look at our history, see how did we accomplish that? And let's do that blueprint. Even though they destroyed the blueprint, but let's go get that blueprint and dig it out the dust off of it. And let's stop talking about what this white and what's that over there, because let's get to what we need to do to get us a strategy plan. Let's stick to it.
Okay.
When the drugs got dropped, I was there. You know why you dropped them drugs on us?
Right.
Because I was the next supervisor over their white kids getting out of high school. Their kids gonna take orders from me. They came and dropped that in our neighborhood because they didn't want their kids to have to be under us as supervisors with the next job in the aerospace industry. We was next in line, and they dropped that on us to set us back. I understand that, but I'm not gonna stay there with that. What I'm gonna do now about that?
Exactly. I think
what I'm gonna do now about that? And it ain't blaming the white man. It's about what I'm gonna do now about that.
We ain't gonna blame Hispanics either. But by the way, so we gonna
it's
blame
factual. It's factual.
And it's
I
factual with whites.
think we got a caller.
It's
I
factual.
think we
Let's
got
have
a
a
caller.
caller.
Can we
They both like.
introduce our caller? Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead with your question or statement.
Yes. First, I would just like to salute to all three of you brothers. Thank you for what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
I'm probably a little bit younger than you guys. I was actually on Rosebud show last week.
Okay.
But my question is, just looking at the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, me personally, just my own personal beliefs, right? Being that they both was established when we were still in prison as so-called slaves, right? I don't understand why in 2020 we're still talking about Democrat and Republican, because when we look at most of our heroes, especially our heroes that have died, like Malcolm or Donald Jackson or George Jackson or the Black Panther Party and things of that nature, most of them was trying to move away from that, right?
That's right.
So in 2020, I'm trying to see why are we still talking about it, and then I just heard you brothers say this, so I agree with y'all. And if we are going to vote, right, we should do it from a strategic point and not a loyalty point, like we loyal to the Democrats or loyal to the Republicans. Like it should be strategic. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
Yeah,
absolutely. I just wanted to know how.
We absolutely agree with
Absolutely
you,
right.
brother. That was good. That's
Yeah,
a good
That's
point.
a great point.
And,
Yeah.
and I think
I think we all agree
he's
with
hitting
that.
on it, and we all agree on it because, like you said, it's a different terminology,
Right.
but we all know we got to go with this solution.
Right.
And see, our solution is like so much of what I guess the topic being the new slave. If we look at what he said about the Johnson program and what that did, it is if you go back 100 years. What were they doing on that plantation? Wasn't they moving fathers out the house?
Yeah, they was
Didn't welfare do
Right.
the same thing? You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wasn't they breaking
Right.
up our families? Didn't these social programs do the same? Well, she can get a bigger check if you're not there and all that
My
other
mama
stuff.
could hide
you
my
know,
shoe, have
Hi-
hide my
yeah,
brother's shoe, have hide my
exactly.
daddy's shoes, whoever's shoe. No male shoe could be in the house.
So when that teaches the same dependency that we're talking about, like this brother is saying here. We're being taught dependency, and what we're asserting here is independence. Not just somebody talking independence and putting something or barriers in the way of of independence. We're talking real independence, where we know we can do for self. We know this brother is a classic example. He
42 years,
example.
brother. You know,
Classic.
I'm just saying that I'm on the line where I'm really on the battle line with that. And Malcolm did talk about liberalism, getting away from it.
Yes.
Okay, and so a lot of that stuff that Malcolm preached about, we need to come back to some of that. You know, Martin talked about the speech every time it's time for Martin Luther King thing. They never told that clip where he talked about how the white man did certain things and how certain things they do on certain things.
Right.
They only play what they want to play.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So my thing right
Right.
now is that I don't have time to be worried about black Republican, Democrat, none of that. I'm about who is making what for us to have some tools to make our own. That's what I want.
Now,
Yes.
Okay. Because right now,
And one more thing I want. Right. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
yeah, who's gonna give me the tools to do what I got to do?
Right.
That's what it is. So right now, whether I like him or not, okay, this man right now, God, I'd rather say that he don't know what he's doing. God actually coming through him to help out the middle class of blacks, which is get them factories open, get us some jobs, get us opportunity to have some job, make us learn, start thinking about being independent. Okay, learn to be independent.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? He changed the tax law because he's trying to make us understand that every year they give you $4,000 or $5,000, but they're taking $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 from you. If you open up a company, then he gonna give you a discount. He'll give you a credit.
Yes, that's
Okay, he's
right.
trying to force you into entrepreneurship. Okay, that's what he's trying to do when he changed the tax laws. He's trying to force us into look.
Right.
What you got to lose? Because right now we need to find some way to get independent. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
wait, you
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, we have to be
and I have
careful.
one more thing.
Go
ahead.
ahead, brother.
I have one more thing, and I'm not talking about three brothers in general, but like I mentioned, our heroes, right? I see blacks in general. We always talking about Malcolm, Martin, Marcus Garvey, right? And sometimes I come from the gang culture, right? So I was introduced to this arena later on, right?
Right.
But my common sense tells me like, man, Malcolm said this in the 60s. Martin said that. Marcus Garvey said that, right? And I see a big tendency amongst black people in general that we still not standing on their shoulders, but like it's 2020. Like they gave us a platform. They gave us. They started the pyramid, right?
They
And
died
it don't
for it.
seem like we're evolving. Like we're our great. We're the next Malcolm X. We're the better Malcolm X.
Exactly.
We're the better
Right.
Marcus Garvey. It's like we're not growing from that. We like just holding on to like that's all we have.
Right,
And I don't
exactly.
think that with them brothers died. I don't think them brothers died for us not to evolve in some kind of.
Let me say
form
this.
or fashion.
Let me say
Great
this,
point,
Tootie. Let me
brother.
say this, that the reason why is very important that we look at Ed Barney and the shaping of public opinion.
Right.
Because we say the streets doesn't know it, but actually college don't know it either. Black people in college don't know nothing about Malcolm X. Even Martin Luther King, really, they know is I Have a Dream. They really know nothing about Marcus
like you
Garvey.
said.
So it's just like both. This white boy got it both covered. What did my man Kanye say? He said, "Crackheads buy Jordans." And
Oh, yeah.
yeah. He said drug dealers buy Jordans, crackheads buy crack, and the white man get paid off of all of that. So the thing is that what we're saying now is it's time for them to shift because we know their game. Now their game is to give you a Trump. Trump does not want to kick out all Hispanics.
Well-
Trump. Wait, let me say this. Here we go. Trump is not going to kick out. Let me say, just logic. Let's follow logic. We got to be careful because we don't want to get in another trick bag. This is a businessman. Labor is cheap when you have immigrants in the country. A Republican does not want to kick out cheap labor and have to pay American citizens all that money in salary. What he's doing is, once again, it's called the Southern strategy. They say, come in, build a few detention centers, put a few in there, fake like you're going to build a wall that blew down when the wind blew the other month. And then what you'll do is get all of them on your side while we still bring in cheap labor to do the fields and everything else that we're going to do. We always have to be watching out for the okie doke. Okay. And Malcolm said one thing we got to remember. He said, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, and I got sense enough to know it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But at the same time, instead of me saying that the white man got this strategy for me to overcome this situation, Satan got this strategy through this white man or through this person or through that person, that color. I'm not going to give him that power because Satan's got the power to make this happen. He knows what he's doing. He's the one trying to make it. He knows he's been making it global. He knows what it is. Because the real truth is, everybody said that Bible is all hokey doke. But right now, the third temple is being built. Am I correct? The third temple is being built right now. Okay, and the Antichrist is coming through the third temple. Okay, and in the book it said the Jews will return back home. So there's some biblical stuff going on, but Satan got us so mixed up down here with this white man unknown and this over here and all that. It's bad and all kind of stuff. Now I don't want to give him that kind of credit. What do we want to do? Take the tools we got, put our money together, open banks, do whatever we got to do right now, black folks, middle class folks, and let's take our country back. That's what it's about. Okay. Whatever needs necessary. Now,
I'm going to push back on that a little bit because when we say, we're not going to pay attention to the white man because he don't have the power.
Not like that. I'm not saying that person like what he's doing. I'm saying to all people. I'm talking about if he's bad, he's bad. I don't care what color he is.
Right.
I'm paying attention to him.
But we're basically saying the same.
I'm not going to stay there.
We're basically saying the same thing. I'm saying I'm not going to vote for him just simply because he says a few good things about X, Y, and Z. I'm saying like you saying, we need our playbook and run our play. And now, that's what people don't understand when we say this happened here, this happened. Y'all blaming the white man, but no. We're saying facts. Y'all got hooked up by the white man. We did get hooked up by drugs. It devastated our community. We did get hooked up by our fathers being torn out the household. It devastated our community. So therefore, starting from right now, man, let's not pay attention to none of that. If they come with welfare tomorrow, say, no, I'm going to go live with my sister like the Hispanics do. I'm going to go live with my sister, my brother. I'm going to hook up with them. And this is how we do it. We're going to hook up together, pull our money together. And I'm saying this is how we do it because that's how I'm doing it right now. We pull our money together and we're going to do our thing regardless of who's in office. Because guess what? This misery has continued regardless of whether that there was a Democrat or Republican. We always had problems with drugs, prison, no jobs, regardless of whether or not there was a Democrat or Republican. So guess what we got to do? We got to go back and open up those stores again. We got to go back and have our liquor stores again.
It's something that you both are saying that we have to build our capacity, our power. Basically, what we're talking about is a power base, and we concede slavery. Why we say new slavery, old slavery, and everything because we do not have that power.
Exactly.
And so we have to build. Killed. We have to build that power. We have to acquire that power. Yep. And the question is, how do you do it? It's not just economics, because you have a black economist said long in the 20s that there's no greater distributor of wealth than black people in America, meaning that we don't hold on to
we consumers.
Exactly.
That's what we are.
That's basically, and we've been trained to do it.
Also, and they use a tax basis because we thought the ADA are students. We as prisoners, they make money off of us. They make money in so many small ways that we don't realize.
Right.
When you're born, they're figuring out a way to make money on you until you die. Right. They're collecting. Right. You got to pay for that. You have to pay for the ground that you die on, and that's the reason why.
But it goes back to why you were brought here in the first place, was to make other people wealthy.
Exactly.
Never reaping that benefit for yourself. So you have to be careful about what you claim.
Yeah.
So if you're claiming America, then you're claiming your own self-exploitation if you're a black person.
And we're all saying the same thing.
And the other thing is about what you said before, regardless of the Democratic and Republican, regardless of what side of the thing, that had no impact on the criminal justice system that just bypassed the officers that killed Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
It had no impact.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people out there, but that's what we're talking about. It has no impact on the power dynamic.
George Floyd had a Democratic mayor and a Democratic governor. He still was killed.
Still killed.
And they on the same page. Bill Clinton and Trump party together. And look,
Absolutely.
Hillary Clinton was a Barry Goldwater girl when she was younger, and then decided to be. So when we look at them, we have to say, look, don't get caught up. All I'm saying is that, brother Derek. All I'm saying is like what you said is like when you're going into the game, the industry, have a plan. And like you said yourself, you and it was true. You said, man, the adults were so wrapped up in this war that they couldn't really instruct us, so we blew the money quickly. All I'm saying is, let's not blow. Let's teach this next generation, don't blow the money, because we're telling them, look, y'all got to have a plan. You want to do that? You want to do that? What's your plan to come back together and help these other cats behind us?
We're getting some comments on the line, and they're having some good discussions in the chat. Saying, arguing back and forth whether it's truly economics or not, just economics or not. But let me throw this out here. In Nazi Germany, the Jews were extremely wealthy, and that did not stop the process there. So it couldn't be simply just economics.
And economics leads you to have an army. Get that straight. Economics leads you to have an army ultimately. The reason why we can't move on Breonna Taylor's killers, because they have the army. Now, we're talking economics. We're not stopping at economics. What we're saying is the 3 and 4 generations down, Marcus Garvey said, you lynch us today, and one day we're going to push a button and lynch you somewhere in the world. But he said, well, I got to first get our money right. Like Tupac said, let's get our money right, and then let's go to war. This way, hey, when we talk about
the war chest,
we talk about the war chest. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about having so much money that we have our own coders and designers that are designing the next weapons that are going to be put in space and looking at other people instead of they're looking at us. We are suffering from a powerlessness. We don't have power. That's why we're saying Black Lives Matter and pleading. No, Black Power matters. If you have Black power, people don't touch you. That's why Asians aren't being killed in the street, because they could push a button and cut off trade. That's why you don't see Hispanics even being killed. Well, they are being killed, but not the same numbers. That's why you see Hispanics buying up the neighborhood, by the way. They have their own bank. Why didn't we set up a contact with Blacks to get Africa to get a bank? Okay, but I'm sorry, but we did in Chicago. But go ahead, bro.
But you know, the thing about it is, those drug cartels financing these houses out here for them.
Right.
When our drug dudes was making money, they wasn't building nothing. They wasn't doing nothing.
Why weren't they? Tell it, Derek.
Because they got the mentality that we got when you see Django and the 2 Africans fighting, the brothers fighting.
Right.
That's
right.
whoever the top man is.
That's it.
That top man thing is stuck in our neighborhoods. It's stuck in our minds, and that's what it is.
That's conditioning.
Okay,
and that's a great point.
Conditioning. And so to me,
great point.
To me, that I was able to finally break free of that is when I started deciding on, you know what, I don't have no more time to be labeling this and that and all that. I got to look at the facts that Satan's run this system. God said, woe to the earth and to the sea, for he comes down with great anger. I got to get back to the real fact of what's really making all of us be divisional down here on this planet, okay? And when I get to him, don't let him get off the hook neither, okay? Because if I go on to assault another human by making him be the problem, I need to go to who run his ego, okay? Because he wasn't raised to want to be against us. That was put in his mind from Satan or ever. And that's what we got to get. I want to get to that. Okay, so it's not just economic; it's a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual thing here. And okay, so we're gonna break the shackles. We need to lay down, like you say, a plan.
And I agree with you. It is a spiritual battle. If
lay down a plan.
If you see what's going on in the world, it's a spiritual paradigm shift. I mean, because there's no reason for all of these groups to come together regarding black suffering. Black suffering has been here, and everything cycles. If you go back to the 1919, they called that the Red Summer, right? And then when in that time, it was the same type of thing. A pandemic came out, a disease ravaged the country then, and now we have COVID now. We had an attack, unwarranted and unprecedented unprecedented attack,
And that's what
lynching,
this is,
the
too.
lynching of the same thing
That's what
going
this
on
is.
right now. That's what I'm saying.
That's why you
spiritual.
call it.
This is what you're saying.
Yeah,
this
it
is spiritual.
Yeah,
And
because Satan knew that he was getting his hat handed to him, and he knew that. See, the whole thing is this: Satan knows one thing. The only reason he got to make this whole thing global before the Antichrist can come. It's got to be global. And we were almost in there, and then we came back and said, no, we're going to be our own sovereign nation. And so when we started pushing back on the person that owned all of our bill, we got to borrow money from China to live, and now somebody went after them, and they was getting their hat handed to them. That virus was created in order to stop our flow from getting back to us being about our own self. It was designed to stop our flow. Okay, they want to push us into the global market. But we got to be global.
But see, you people, I'm looking at a lot of comments. And see, here's the issue. They preach that we're all Americans, or they want to preach this talk that they don't see color and all this. And every time they make a comment, I see they burn down their own communities and expect big government to rebuild it and pay for it. They're. You don't say, if it's America, then we burning down your community.
Yeah.
But you say no, their community,
Yeah.
because you automatically got a separate mentality.
Yeah.
And when we building industries and we're going for loans and we're doing these things, that separate mentality means that we pay more. That for the loan. That separate mentality, they had covenants to keep us from certain communities. And then the only time that transpires to something different, if in fact they had some interaction like this brother had on his job, or they see you when you were living in the community, then it's a little different. But without that, they going with the play. They going with the stereotype.
And
They're
that's
going with the
separate
division.
mentality.
I was exceptionalism.
That's
They
separate
still went to
mentality.
play. They
If
didn't
you get
stop
real
them.
now, right? That's separate mentality. Okay, on the spiritual level, that special mentality is. You see, Satan is about that separateness, the division, all that. God is about about organization, being together, all his children,
In
everybody.
order.
So when you see somebody coming and saying they burning out, you know where their mind is at. You know who controlling their mindset, and it ain't God. Because if we gonna be up, we all are. Like you said, that's a true fact. You know what I'm saying? So when they come in and saying they burning down, you already on that side. There's more in your mind leaning more toward Satan, and everybody got to make a decision on what side you're going to be on, okay? And it's about your action and your speech and what you say that says what it is. Not you saying that I am not that, but then you doing everything else that looks like it is. You quacking like a duck. It is a duck, okay?
That's it.
Any callers? Do we have any callers?
No,
Read out the numbers.
but we got
a question?
We got
Let's
plenty
get it.
of stuff in this chat.
Let's bring up the comment. Bring it up.
Yo, we got one that
turn that
says
fan?
he's talking about the mindset of the family structure in the black community, and they talk about the fact that prior to these policies, the rate the chat said 78%, and I would concur with that. I've seen that.
Yeah.
And counter to popular belief, we as black men are committed to building family, but popular belief is gonna say we just gonna do this pimp thing.
Well, that's Hollywood.
But it's Hollywood.
You gotta look at conditioning. You gotta look at socializing conditioning. That's why
it.
my black parents, please watch what your children are watching. This WAP controversy. Yeah, we should be listening to as adults, but not our children. We should not have 13, 14-year-olds twerking and stuff, because it's gonna have dire consequences. So therefore, when we look at conditioning, we don't control the record companies. We don't control the movie companies. That's why when we have the Black Panthers going in the 60s, they gave us Superfly. Right. And they said, no, don't be political. Now think about it. You had 17, 18, 19-year-olds willing to risk their life for people they did not know, and Hollywood was able to successfully turn that around and say, get yours. Just do for self. Right. Don't trust your neighbor.
Well, I was with the Black Panthers, and I was about 8. And I was going to the team post, okay? I was on the back of the truck, would go down the street, and I throw their literature out, and I did all that, okay? I got the lunch programs they had, and all that stuff. I was a part of that, right? Okay, you see what I'm saying? But the problem right now is that too many in the world, the male-ism in the world is under attack by Satan. Okay. Satan is trying to kill off male-ism, period. Okay, and let's just don't matter what color you are, he's trying to kill it off, and he's definitely trying to kill it off in the black community. Still, okay? He's still trying to do that at this point. You know what I mean? So right now, for me, it's like, first, let's define what a man is, because they want to loop males and boys into us as male and then call it a black man. No, it ain't. First of all, it ain't that many black men.
That's right.
It ain't that many black women. There's a lot of females and girls and boys who look like them, go to the same job they go to, but their character, what they doing, shows they not.
Yeah.
Me being a young man in the movie business, I was a man because I got other people, and then I look back and reach back and I pull back like a black man would do. The guys who didn't want to do that, who want to be the big man on the street, them males and boys.
Right.
There it is.
Right. Anybody can be a
There it
male.
is.
Okay,
That's
women-
right. That's
girls
right.
going around, a woman that hates you because you got a woman hate another woman because she got a salon doing business, it's a female and a girl. A woman going to be about doing her business, see
And
what I can do.
building.
Can I make something out of that? That's what we need to understand.
That's
so
right.
that's the root we need to get straight on
That's
right
right.
now, opposed to trying to worry about
We agree.
some other stuff that right now don't make dollars, don't make sense, it don't make spirituality, and stuff ain't happening.
Okay, they're talking
got
about
another?
some of these politicians like Maxine, John Lewis, Jesse Jackson, Cory Booker, etc., to line their own pockets off the backs of their basically their community.
And that's a fact.
I don't disagree.
That's a fact. Look at the-
listen,
look at the notes.
that's the truth.
Right.
Look at the
But
bank
that's
account.
what we've been saying all
Look
along
at the bank
here.
account.
Yeah,
But-
matter of
but-
fact, we could
Go ahead.
No, I mean, we really have to look at how this political game had been set up. In 1972, when we had a choice to be independent,
At
they
that
had
convention.
a convention in
In
Gary,
Indiana.
Indiana. They had a national black political convention. And at that convention, they said, we're going to go to the political route. And that created a political class of people who became very wealthy by being politicians.
That's right.
Instead of being leaders and dividing and really organizing our communities that we need. Go ahead.
Okay, now, and the reason why they got rich was because their vote was bought off by lobbyists.
That's it.
Lobbyists was buying off all that, which is why I go back to what I'm saying as far as this man may not be the man you think he is, but he did this without no lobbyist, got his own money, and he ain't taking no, he's showing us as a general public, the lobbyists been doing this, and that's why he's kicking them out. He's showing us the blueprint plan. Now, you may not like the man, but he's showing us the blueprint plan.
But
the lobbyist was, first of all, how you get in office, you had $80,000 in your bank account. 2 years later, you got $5 million.
Right.
Maxine Waters. So how?
Yeah.
The lobbyists. Okay, so the man is God went to this man to expose the fact that they getting paid by selling y'all votes off.
He getting paid too.
Okay.
But he already was paid.
No, he getting
But
paid.
Regardless, but I'm not gonna get about. You know what? I don't mind a man getting paid as long as he
And
don't
he
stop.
not stopping it.
No,
He not
but he not. But what I'm
We-
saying
but
is
we got a
that
question. Go ahead. Yeah,
No,
I got you,
go
Derek.
ahead.
Point I'm
But
saying-
the point.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, make your point.
the point I'm saying is that they got rich because the lobbyists was paying off for their votes. Okay, way before we even get there, they even vote know what the actual agenda is.
Yeah. But
Gotta read it.
see
Call it
the
real quick, 'cause it's about to
money.
close.
We had to do a whole thing on money
Yeah,
and politics.
politics.
That's
Yeah,
a
we'll do
whole.
that.
That's
Yeah.
a whole program. But like you said, we'll deal with that. We'll get you back on here and we'll deal with that. I want to read this. Who is this? H Timer 2. Says the worst thing you can do to a kid is tell them the world is against them or racist, and that they don't have a chance. It destroys motivation. Who wants to play a rigged game? No one. Well, one thing is we never say that they don't have a chance. We say we're winning. We're going to win it. Two, to not tell them that there's racism is to not deal with reality. It's not. It's for me to send them to the lion as a lamb. And tell them that that's a pussycat. You know, that's a lion. And damn it, you got to deal with the lion cautiously, carefully, and if necessary, you're going to have to kill that lion to survive.
Exactly.
So that's the reality.
That's the reality.
So to not tell them the reality is not to prepare them for what they're going to face.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we are inspirational. We give history. That's why we give history.
Exactly.
We tell them it's beyond these so-called confines of what was defined as slavery.
Exactly.
And so you want to not be a slave, you have to go back in history and grab the greatness that's a part of it.
Yeah.
So our problem here with these contemporary comments is that you have no research. You have nothing but shoot from the hip and shoot from the lip, but you don't do any in-depth, and you're not inside the
that's right.
community to make these comments.
Yeah, and we have factual evidence that we always say a self-esteem is predicated on group
Right,
esteem.
in group.
And then we know this because when we teach children who they are, they perform much better. That's why, factually speaking, if a child has one black instructor in front of them, they do better because that black instructor is most likely to tell them the truth. Our grandparents used to tell us you got to be twice as good.
Right.
They used to tell us the truth about what we're about to face.
And how hard you had to work. That work ethic that he's talking about.
Exactly. And then also Derek had a great good point when he said when we got in, we didn't have no game plan. Well, guess what adults do? They say, baby, look, he got the power over here. You got to watch out him over here. You got to watch out over there. And that's just the truth. That's not killing the child's dream. That's telling the kid when you get in there, you got to read The Art of War to survive because this is a war. And hiding children from the truth does not make them stronger.
Right.
Hiding children from the truth makes them weak.
Yeah, well, I understand, caller, I understand what they're saying, what they're coming at. And I do understand. I agree with some of what you're saying. Because if you just dose them with all the racism and all that stuff and all that, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of like they already under this attack. So for me is, let me get them up in the morning early and have them come to work with me, like I did my sons. Both my sons are in the studios now. My oldest son doing shows. My youngest son just got in. But they used to go with me to the job site, and I showed them how to work. Okay, I showed them how to balance the equipment order. I put them in position, and then when we went up against somebody that wanted to be against us, I didn't necessarily say it's racist. I said that person right there wants his family to feed, so he's doing some dirt, and I showed them that. But this is how we're going to beat them. We're going to do our sample. We're going to take my sample. When the people say, want y'all sample, we're going to do my sample with marble, your sample with marble, and so sharpen your skill set.
That's right.
Sharpen your time to be on the job tight. That's what I would have given. I would give them all that first. Then as they get good at that, as they get up in the world or learn how to do the job, then I'll tell them about the racism and all that later. But first, let me get that mind right. Let me prepare them to how to, first of all, as long as you get up in the morning early and do your thing,
let me tell you,
God gonna bless and do the rest. Let's just get up. Let me teach you the skill first.
Yes, that's good. That's a good point. But children are not learning anything about themselves in school.
No, they're not.
So therefore, they're not learning nothing about themselves in school. So teaching them something about themselves actually going to empower them if you teach them the right way. That's basically what it comes down to.
And
it's how you're going to use that. Yeah. And like you said, I'm going to show you the successful route, and that's what we're talking about. That's why I said there's one time that there are plenty of times, that we had a third route that we should have taken. And like you said, that's why they don't play the Martin Luther King speech, because that gives you insight to how to win. Go ahead, Tootie. You got another question?
Oh, no, they're just saying that the reality is that it's not a lion, it's a man, and you need to hold yourself to a higher standard and talk to that man and convince him that the man that you've got an enlightened view, and then back it up. I kind of agree with that, but we're not into convincing anybody of anything other than you need to respect us. Yeah. And you are not going to abuse us, and we're accessing power so that we can neutralize your ability to do that.
And real quick, let me just say this. I knew a lot of Jewish children growing up, and they were always taught about the Holocaust. They dwell on the Holocaust. Never again. They have Holocaust museums. It didn't stop them from ruling the media, the movie industry, the music industry, and everything else.
Well, see, but at the same time, but they heard about the Holocaust, but that was in between lunch break after going to the meal and going with their daddies and learning how to make this textile, learn how to close.
They had after schools that they went to, and they were drenched in the Holocaust. Matter of fact, my son in the 4th grade had to tell his teacher, "Hey, we've been on the Holocaust for 2 months. When are we going to talk about something black?" So therefore, they drenched them in it. They just don't learn about it.
It's in the curriculum.
It is in the curriculum.
But let's look at it. And they take off holidays in LA and it's supposed to be a separation of church and state. That goes deep. But we in our final comments, you guys, you got to make your final point.
Okay. I'm fine. Go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on.
Go ahead.
My final point is this. We talk about, instead of talking about the Democrat, Republican, the white man, the slavery, and all that, let's start with our foundation. The middle class blacks. Let the black man turn around from what he's doing, come back in that home, okay? Black women, allow that man to come back in, okay? Find a way to start putting that man back in there and telling our kids what we need to tell our kids. Give them that skill set and let's start fortifying from our base, because the foundation is important. We need to build it right now, and we can't build it on the old foundation behind. Let's look at how we're gonna build this new foundation. Right. Let's start with the mother and the father, or at least the father having some kind of something in there. You black women, stop looking for your BET her only, and don't let that feminism teach y'all to keep on moving, thinking y'all just doing and downgrading. Go back in and open that door and realize that you ain't nothing without that man.
And he ain't nothing without you.
He ain't nothing without you.
Go ahead.
Oh, when we talk about looking back, we only look back so we have blueprints. I would never get a person to build a house if they never seen a house built or never had experience in building a house. So that's all. That's one reason why we say go back and take the playbook and use it forward, because you got to have knowledge of yourself, like the nation used to always say, knowledge of self to move forward. That's all. So yeah.
And my final quote would be, a seed will flourish when planted in fertile soil, water, sunlight. It will be nurtured into what that seed's full potential is. In this country, we were not planted in fertile soil because we were uprooted. We were subplanted. And so to say or make these things about our family structure, that has to be put together again, like Humpty Dumpty. It has to be reconstructed, because our spirits, our spiritual nature, even our worship of the Creator, that all was shambles. And so for us to do this, I agree with what Brother Derek said. We have to put it together, but that's in our culture. That's in our spirituality. It's in our worshiping of the one God by many names. I don't care what you call. We have to get there. We have to find balance. And the only way to find balance is to build what they tried to destroy. And the basic continuation of enslavement was the breaking down of the family and the destroying of the black male and the black female's respect for the black male. That was the basic destruction of our society, and we put that back together. No one can stop us.
Perpetual motion forward.
That's it. Okay, for the next one, we'll see you again on Don't Talk Politics. Peace.